She held the crying child like her own, tender, shaking, heartbreaking, when the door burst open and the man she worked for pointed at her like a monster. "What did you do to my daughter?" he roared, and just like that, her world split in two. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The morning sun poured golden light through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Pierce estate, glinting off polished marble and silent chandeliers. The house was immaculate, cold, perfect, untouchable. Clarice adjusted the collar of her uniform in the hallway mirror, smoothing her braids, heart tight like it always was before entering the girl's room. She didn't mind the work. Not really, she just missed warmth. Her own daughter, Jasmine, was halfway across the country in college, and sometimes Clarice ached to feel needed again. But then there was Lily, the millionaire's daughter, curly-haired, shy, and soft like a whisper. She reminded Clarice of Jasmine at that age. Clarice picked up Lily's stuffed rabbit from the floor and smiled softly. "Left you behind again, huh, Mr. Wiggles?" She stepped into Lily's bedroom. The little girl sat cross-legged on the floor, talking to her dolls like they were in therapy. Clarice chuckled quietly and leaned on the doorframe. "You forget your tea party invitation again?" she asked. Lily looked up, her smile blooming like a secret garden. "You're always invited, Miss Clarice." It was moments like this that made the job more than a paycheck. Clarice knelt and pretended to sip imaginary tea, listening to Lily babble about her dreams, how one day she'd have a bakery shaped like a castle and everyone could come, no matter how much money they had. Clarice's eyes misted just a little. "You're gonna change the world, baby." Meanwhile, across the estate, Jonathan Pierce sat in his office, drowning in silence. The kind of silence that followed grief around like a loyal dog. His wife, Margaret, had been gone for nearly 2 years now. Cancer didn't care about status or money or perfect lives. It came like a thief and left like a storm. He stared at the untouched breakfast on his desk, rubbing his temples. He was tired of meetings, of masks, of pretending he was holding it all together for Lily. Most days, he barely knew how to talk to her without Margaret translating the language of little girls into something he understood. His phone buzzed. Text from school. "Lily's class project is due tomorrow. Family tree photos needed." He cursed under his breath. He didn't have a single photo of him and Lily printed out. Clarice probably did. Clarice always did everything, maybe too much. He didn't like how close they were, how Lily clung to her, laughed with her. It made him feel replaceable and guilty. That guilt sat inside him like rot. Back upstairs, Clarice tucked Lily's curls behind her ear. "I gotta go clean the sitting room before your dad comes back up," she said gently. Lily looked down, a question forming on her lips. "Why does Daddy always look so sad when he sees us playing?" Clarice froze, her hand hovered in the air. "He's just got a lot on his heart, baby. Grown-up stuff. But I like it when he smiles," Lily said. "You make him less lonely. You just don't know it yet." As Clarice stepped into the hallway, the security system chimed downstairs, the front door opening. Jonathan was home, and for reasons neither of them could know yet, today would shatter everything. The scream echoed down the marble hallway like a siren tearing through glass. "Lily?" Clarice dropped the vase she was dusting, the crash shattering behind her as she ran, heart in her throat, legs burning. She burst into the room, eyes searching. Lily sat on the edge of her bed, tears streaming, her sleeve pushed up revealing a red mark on her arm. "Oh baby, what happened?" Clarice whispered, rushing to kneel beside her. Her hands hovered over Lily like wings, afraid to touch, afraid to hurt more. Lily shook her head, sobbing. "It hurts." Clarice's voice cracked. "Did you fall? Did something?" Then came the thunder of footsteps. Jonathan Pierce stormed in, eyes blazing, face already twisted into something beyond fury. He saw Clarice on the floor, Lily crying, the bruise, and he didn't ask, he assumed. "Get away from her, now." Clarice stood, stunned. "Sir, I just got here." She was already crying. But he wasn't listening. "You touched her," he growled. You think because you've been here for years, you can put your hands on my daughter." His voice cracked with something worse than rage. It was fear, pain, projection. Clarice took a step back, her whole body trembling. "Please, listen to me. I would never hurt Lily, never." "You're fired," he snapped, "and I'm calling the police." Lily's sobs grew louder. "Daddy, wait." Jonathan pulled out his phone. Clarice blinked back tears. "Please, Mr. Pierce. Think about who I am, about who she is to me. You know I wouldn't. I don't know anything anymore," he barked, "except my daughter has a bruise and you're the only one who was here." 20 minutes later, a patrol car rolled into the driveway. The officer, Detective Morales, stepped out slowly, one hand on his belt, the other holding a notepad. Clarice sat on the steps outside the house, her hands shaking, eyes unfocused. Lily sat on the couch inside, still sniffling, clutching Mr. Wiggles to her chest. "Sir, I need to speak with the child directly," Morales said. "Alone." Jonathan hesitated, then nodded. He stepped out, barely looking at Clarice. Inside, the officer knelt beside Lily. "Hi there, I'm Officer Morales. You don't have to be scared, okay? I just want to know what happened." Lily looked up at him with big wet eyes. "My arm hurt after I fell off the bed this morning," she said softly. Morales blinked. "You fell?" She nodded. "But when I cried, Daddy ran in and got mad at Miss Clarice. But she didn't do anything. She held me, like Mommy used to." Morales froze. Outside, Jonathan paced, his hands in his hair. Then the door opened. Morales stepped out, face unreadable. "Mr. Pierce, your daughter said she fell. Your maid didn't lay a hand on her." The words hit like a slap. Jonathan stared at him, then at Clarice, and suddenly everything inside him cracked. Clarice didn't speak. Not when the officer left. Not when Jonathan muttered a hollow sorry. Not when she stepped back into the house to gather her things. Her breath caught like glass in her throat. She just moved, mechanical, slow, as if anything too sudden would make her fall apart. Jonathan stood near the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight. "It was a misunderstanding. I was scared. You have to understand I saw the bruise." And Clarice turned sharply. "You saw a black woman kneeling beside your crying daughter, and that was all you needed to decide who I was." Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Jonathan's face flushed. "I didn't mean you didn't ask, Mr. Pierce." He flinched at the formality, how her "sir" had disappeared. She looked down at her bag, blinking fast. "Do you want me gone?" He didn't answer. "Not really. I need time," he said finally, "to think. This whole thing just..." Clarice let out a soft, bitter laugh. "You're not the one who nearly got taken away in handcuffs in front of a child you've never once told I love you." Jonathan's head snapped up. "You don't know what you're talking about, but he was wrong. She did. Maybe not, but she does," Clarice said quietly. "She's starving for you, and she knows when love is real." She walked to the door but paused. "I've worked in this house for 6 years, cleaned your wife's room after she passed, tucked your daughter in when you were too broken to try. You didn't just accuse me of hurting Lily, you accused me of betraying everything I am." Then she left. Later that night, Jonathan sat alone in Lily's room. The rabbit sat on the floor. Her drawings were everywhere, crayon-colored hearts, stick figures. One showed Lily holding hands with Mommy and Miss Clarice. He wasn't even in it. Lily peeked through the door. "Daddy?" He wiped his face before turning. "Hey, sweetheart, is Miss Clarice fired?" she asked. Jonathan hesitated. "I don't know." Lily walked over, her small fingers wrapping around his. "She didn't hurt me. She made the bad dream go away." Jonathan nodded, throat thick. "I know. I was just scared." Lily looked up. "You're still scared, but not of her." And in that single small sentence, Jonathan finally saw the truth. His fear wasn't about Clarice. It was about himself. The skies opened 2 days later, like they were holding grief for someone. Thunder rolled over the Pierce estate as the storm grew worse, sheets of rain slamming against the windows, trees bending like they were praying for mercy. Jonathan paced the kitchen, trying to cook something vaguely edible. Lily was sniffling from a cold she caught after running through the garden barefoot. Her fever was rising, and her soft, tired whimper echoed in his head like guilt. Clarice had always known how to handle this. What medicine? What tea? What words? He felt utterly useless. Then the power went out. A deep, heavy silence swallowed the house. No hum of electricity, no blinking lights, just darkness and thunder. The landline didn't work. The cell towers were down. He felt the walls closing in. And then a knock. He opened the door. Clarice stood there, soaked, wind-blown, holding a plastic bag of herbal oils, children's Tylenol, and soup in a thermos. Jonathan just stared at her, water dripping from her hood onto his marble floors. "I heard the storm knocked power lines. Thought you'd need help," she said simply. "Lily always spikes a fever in the rain." He didn't move, just swallowed. "Are you here as a maid?" he asked quietly. "I'm here because that little girl is sick, and I still love her." She stepped inside, brushing past him. He didn't stop her. Clarice found Lily in bed, face flushed, hair matted to her forehead. She sat beside her, placed a cool cloth on her skin, and whispered lullabies only Lily seemed to remember. Jonathan watched from the doorway like a ghost in his own home. He saw Clarice's fingers move gently over Lily's arm, the same arm he'd once accused her of bruising. And for the first time he truly saw what that moment had cost her. Later, they sat at the kitchen table, 2 mugs of tea between them. Rain hammered the roof like 1,000 tiny fists. Clarice broke the silence. "You think I came back because I need the money?" Jonathan shook his head. "I think you came back because you're better than me." She gave a bitter smile. "Don't flatter me, Mr. Pierce. I came back for her, not you." A long pause. "I'm sorry," he said. Clarice didn't respond. "I failed her," he added. "I thought I was protecting her, but I was just hiding from myself, from everything." Clarice's voice was soft. "You can't protect her from the world if you don't heal the parts of yourself she needs most." She looked at him, really looked. "You loved your wife." He nodded. "Still do. But I've forgotten how to love what's left." Clarice whispered, "Then maybe it's time someone reminded you." And in that storm-lit kitchen, something fragile and raw began to take shape. The storm had passed by morning, but the house still held its breath. Lily slept peacefully now, fever broken, her bunny clutched to her chest like a shield against bad dreams. Clarice tucked the blanket tighter around her and stepped quietly into the hallway, where Jonathan leaned against the wall like he hadn't moved in hours. "She's okay," Clarice said. He nodded, eyes rimmed red. "Because of you." Clarice folded her arms. "She would have been fine if you hadn't pushed me away in the first place." Jonathan didn't argue. He couldn't. "I found something," he said instead, and motioned toward his office. She followed him in, reluctantly. The room was cluttered, unlike the rest of the house. Papers, boxes, grief turned into clutter. On the desk sat a photo album, open to a page Clarice hadn't seen in years. A picture of her, holding Lily at 2 years old, laughing. "She called you Mama once," Jonathan murmured. "I remember that. I snapped at her for it." Clarice's face twisted, old pain flaring. "I remember too. She was so small after Margaret passed," he went on, "and I was a mess. You were the only one who could calm her down. I hated it. Hated how much she clung to you." Clarice blinked. "You resented me for loving her." "No," he said. "I resented you because I couldn't." That confession landed heavy. Clarice sat down slowly, the photo still in her hand. He sat across from her, elbows on knees, voice shaking. "I grew up in a house where men didn't do feelings, didn't cry, didn't touch. Margaret softened me, but when she died, I forgot how to be soft." Clarice didn't speak. He continued, quieter. "And then one day I walked in and saw you holding my daughter, singing to her, telling her stories, brushing her hair, and I felt like I'd been replaced, like maybe she didn't even need me." Clarice's voice cracked. "You think love is a competition? I think I was scared of being irrelevant. And I think," she whispered, "you were scared that someone else could give her what you couldn't." That silence between them thickened, not with anger but understanding. "I came here from Alabama," she said, her voice low. "I was 22. Jasmine was 3. I scrubbed hotel floors and wiped old men's soup off their ties, just to get enough for her books. You think I do this job because I like cleaning rich people's crumbs?" He met her eyes. "No, I think you do it because you're the strongest person in this house." She laughed, short, sharp, full of old bitterness. "Strong doesn't mean bulletproof." Then softer, "You broke something in me that day, Jonathan, not because you didn't believe me, but because I thought you knew me better than that." His voice cracked. "So did I." The sky was clear now, washed blue like it had been baptized by the storm. Clarice stood on the back patio of the estate, arms folded, looking out over the lawn where Lily used to chase butterflies. She wasn't sure if she should leave, wasn't sure if she could. Jonathan stepped out quietly behind her, holding 2 mugs. "I made tea," he said, a little awkwardly. Clarice raised a brow. "You make tea now?" He handed her the mug with a sheepish smile. "Let's just say I had guidance from YouTube." She accepted it but didn't sip, just stared ahead. A long silence. Then, "Do you ever think about leaving this place?" she asked. He was surprised. "What do you mean?" Clarice didn't look at him. "I mean everything. The weight, the name, the grief, the glass house that makes everyone look in but no one really sees you." Jonathan swallowed hard. "Every day." She turned to him, finally. "Then why haven't you?" He exhaled. "Because I thought being strong meant staying, even if I was drowning." Clarice smiled faintly. "You and I got different definitions of strength." Jonathan looked at her, really looked, and something in his eyes softened. "You know," he said, "after Margaret died, I used to come home and sit in the driveway for 20 minutes, just frozen, couldn't bring myself to go inside." Clarice's expression shifted. "I remember, I used to peek through the curtain and see your headlights. Thought maybe you were crying." "I was," he admitted, "but only when Lily was asleep." Clarice's eyes shimmered. "Grief doesn't wait for bedtime." They sat down on the bench, close but not touching, just near. Jonathan looked at her hands, calloused, tired, beautiful. "You've given so much to this house, to her, to me, and I never really saw you." Clarice's voice was a whisper. "You were hurting." "So were you," he said. She turned to him slowly. "Do you know what Lily said to me before I left that day?" He shook his head. "Don't go. You're the only one who knows how to talk to my heart." Jonathan's throat closed. "I wanted to come back," Clarice continued, "but not until I knew you could do that too." He nodded, slowly. "I want to learn," he said, "to listen better, to be better." Clarice took a long sip of tea. "Then start small," she said. He tilted his head. "Start by telling her you love her," she whispered. "She's waiting." Jonathan stared at the garden, then back at her. "I think she's not the only one." The next morning felt different, lighter. Clarice made Lily her favorite breakfast, cinnamon toast with honey and fruit cut into little stars. Jonathan watched from the kitchen, awkward but trying, like a man learning to walk again. Lily giggled as Clarice made her bunny taste the banana slices. And then something miraculous. Jonathan joined in. He picked up a strawberry, balanced it on his nose, and made a ridiculous face. Lily burst out laughing, nearly choking on her toast. Clarice watched, half in awe, half in disbelief. The man was trying. Later, as Lily napped, Clarice stood at the sink, rinsing dishes. Jonathan stepped behind her, drying a plate. She smiled at me like she used to. Clarice didn't turn. "She's forgiving." "Think you could ever be?" he asked. Her hands stilled under the water. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I'm here." That meant something. It had to. But peace is fragile when old wounds still bleed. That afternoon, while Jonathan was upstairs taking a call, Clarice wandered into the office to find a folder she'd left behind. She didn't mean to look, but a printed email caught her eye, half tucked under a stack of reports. It was a correspondence between Jonathan and a private nanny agency, dated 2 days ago, the same night she came back. Her hands trembled as she read the words. "Need someone full-time ASAP, preferably someone discreet. Trust is an issue. Must be willing to take background check." Clarice stepped back like she'd been struck. When Jonathan returned minutes later, she was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, face unreadable. "What is this?" she asked quietly, holding up the email. His face dropped. "It was before everything. Before you came back that night, I swear." Her voice cracked. "But you kept it. After everything I said, after everything I did for Lily, you still had a backup plan." He opened his mouth, but nothing came. Clarice shook her head. "You said you were trying, that you wanted to be better, but you were still preparing to replace me." Jonathan stepped forward. "I didn't delete it because I forgot. I wasn't planning to hire anyone. I swear." "You forgot," she snapped. "You forgot the woman you accused in front of a child you couldn't even comfort." Tears welled in her eyes. "You don't forget things that hurt people, Jonathan. You just choose not to look at them." He reached for her. She pulled away. I thought we were healing, she whispered. We are, he insisted. Clarice looked at him with hollow eyes. No, you are. I'm just the bandage. She walked past him, slowly, deliberately, leaving the photo album, the tea mug, and maybe the hope. The house was silent again. Not the silence of a storm, or grief, or accusation, but something colder. Clarice had left before Lily woke. No note, no goodbye, just absence, and it echoed in every hallway. Jonathan stood in the kitchen, staring at the untouched breakfast she had once made. His fingers hovered over his phone for the 100th time. No new messages. He could have called, should have, but what could he say that wouldn't sound like damage control? He turned the photo album over in his hands, flipping to that picture of Clarice and Lily, their heads bent together, eyes glowing with trust he had shattered. Again. Across town, Clarice sat in her car outside a small diner, hands wrapped around a coffee she didn't want. Her phone buzzed. A text from her daughter Jasmine. You good, Mama? You went quiet. Clarice stared at the words, tears welling. She typed, then deleted. Typed again. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just someone people use to feel better than leave behind. She hit send. The reply came quick. Nah, you're someone people regret losing. That's why they chase after you. Always have, always will. Clarice stared at the screen, her breath catching. Would he chase? Back at the estate, Lily shuffled into the living room in bunny pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Where's Miss Clarice? She mumbled. Jonathan knelt down beside her, heart in his throat. She had to go for a little while. Lily's eyes widened. Did she leave because of you? He hesitated. Yes, he said softly, because I hurt her, again. Lily sat on the floor, clutching her bunny, quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, Are you going to fix it? Jonathan blinked, stunned. Fix what, sweetheart? Her heart, Lily said. You broke it. You have to be brave now. The child's words were a mirror, and he saw the man he'd been, the man who hid behind fear, anger, pride, and the man he could be if he chose love. That night, Clarice opened her apartment door to a soft knock. Jonathan stood there in the hallway, soaked in rain again, as if fate insisted he learn things wet and cold. He didn't speak at first. Then he held up something small. Mr. Wiggles, the bunny. She forgot him, he said, voice hoarse, but she's not the only one who forgot what mattered. Clarice didn't move. I was wrong to keep that email, to keep you at arm's length, to see you but not choose you. You were never the help, Clarice. You were the home. Her eyes filled. You can't say that now just because you're scared of being alone. I'm not scared of being alone, he said. I'm scared of a life where I don't try to deserve the people who stayed when I didn't deserve them at all. He held out Mr. Wiggles. I want to fix it, not just for Lily, for you, for us. A long pause. Then Clarice stepped forward, slowly, and took the bunny from his hand. 2 weeks later, the Pierce estate felt warmer. Not because the curtains were changed or the lighting softened, but because the silence was gone, replaced by the echo of giggles, of pancakes sizzling, of piano keys plunked by small fingers. Clarice sat at the kitchen table, her apron dusted with flour, watching Lily mix batter far too enthusiastically. Slow down, sugar, she said, chuckling. We're making pancakes, not a flour explosion. Jonathan leaned against the counter, coffee in hand, eyes soft. She gets that energy from you. Lies, Clarice teased. That child has your chaos. They laughed, a sound that didn't feel foreign anymore. After breakfast, Clarice walked the garden path alone for a bit, basket in hand. She still liked the quiet. It helped her hear herself. Jonathan found her there, picking herbs, sleeves rolled to her elbows, face calm. He held something behind his back. Hey, he said gently. Hey, he stepped closer, his voice quiet. I got you something. Clarice raised a brow. If it's another tea mug, I swear I'm gonna. He revealed a small silver-framed photo. She froze. It was the picture, the one of her and Lily, laughing. Only this time it had been reprinted, centered in a new frame. Below it, engraved in delicate cursive, were the words, Home is who you hold. Clarice's throat tightened. I put it on the mantel, Jonathan said, right next to Margaret's, not instead of her, but with her, because she would have wanted you there too. Clarice held the frame like it was made of air. Why? She asked quietly. Because love isn't just who we miss, it's who we keep showing up for. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "Don't freak out," he added, "but I rewrote your employment contract." Her eyebrows shot up. He handed it to her. She opened it slowly, then stared. It wasn't an employment contract. It was an adoption consent form, but not for Lily. It was from Jasmine, Clarice's daughter. Jonathan grinned nervously. "She said I had to prove I was serious before I got either of her girls." Clarice choked on a laugh, tears falling freely now. "You went to my daughter. I wanted her blessing, and I needed her to know that I wasn't just asking you to stay. I was asking if I could finally be the man worthy of your staying." She looked at him, completely unguarded for the first time in months. "I can't promise I won't mess up again," he said, "but I swear I'll never make you doubt your place in this family." Clarice stepped forward, touched his cheek. "Then you better learn how to make better pancakes." He laughed, relieved, overjoyed, undone. They kissed, not the kind of kiss you see in movies, not dipped and desperate, just still, sure, soft, the kind of kiss that says, "We made it, finally." Inside, Lily ran to the door with Mr. Wiggles flopping in her arms. "Miss Clarice," she shouted, "are you going to live here forever now?" Clarice picked her up and smiled. "No, baby." Lily blinked. "I already do. Have you ever misjudged someone and nearly lost something precious because of it?" To drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us where you are watching from,